Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the score study video series for the 4 Minutes from Midnight virtual band project. I'm Yoshio Yamashita. I am the director for the virtual band, and I'm also the composer of the symphony 4 Minutes from Midnight. Today's video is going to cover the 3 trumpet parts for the symphony and do a little bit of analysis and just a brief overview that will hopefully aid you in preparing your parts for video recording. We're going to begin here at 1 bar before letter A. This should be a pretty severe forte piano. Forte going down to piano, even closer to pianissimo maybe, and then crescendoing up to a forte fortissimo by the double bar at letter A. One of the considerations to take at letter A is that these triplets are quarter note triplets. If you'll notice, when we look at the full score right here, those triplets are doubled in the oboe 1, oboe 2 parts and the second and third clarinet, as well as alto 2. However, there are several parts that have eighth note triplets, which are twice as fast in the alto 1, B flat clarinet number 1, flute 2, flute 1, and piccolo parts. So make sure we're playing these in time and in the proper rhythm. Practice with a metronome if you need to. Make sure we're holding these ties all the way to beat 3 and then playing the triplet on beat 3. Again, with this figure, 3 bars before letter B, practice with a metronome if necessary. Make sure you're comfortable starting that on beat 2 and tying over the bar. It's in kind of a weird place if you're not ready for it. Same thing here at letter B. Make sure you're ready for the entrance there. It will catch you off guard if you're not prepared. Notice that this phrase right before C is almost a direct repetition of what you have immediately preceding in the first bar after letter B, or at letter B, excuse me. I'm going to skip the rest here and move on to letter G at the 2-4. Notice the accents here on this fanfare type figure. Even though it's mezzo piano, these need to be accented and louder than the notes that come before it. However, notice that it is mezzo piano, so accents don't necessarily mean to, blow the windows out here. Just that they're very forceful and marcato, and intense, but no louder than mezzo piano, mezzo forte. And then, of course, these half notes that come after are at mezzo piano, decrescendoing down through letter H. Make sure you count your rest very carefully through letter H, as there is a meter change every bar. One of the things I do if I have trouble counting meter changes is I'll write 6 over 6/4, 3 over 3/4, so on and so forth, just so I have visual reminders in addition to the time signatures themselves of how many beats are in a bar. At letter J, players that are playing top to VC in each part should play these one player only. These are accompaniment to a euphonium solo. Let's skip ahead in the full score to that. Let's try to get all of it in view. Here's the first trumpet line. Here's the second trumpet line. And here's that euphonium solo. Let's listen to it real quickly. First of all, make sure you're watching the conductor video to make sure you're getting those cutoffs correct and that you're holding that fermata out for the correct length. But also realize you are accompanying the euphonium solo right there, so you are not the most important line. Letter K is the beginning of the second movement. Letter L introduces the principal theme of the second movement, which I talk about at more length in score study video number 4, which is themes part 2. Trumpet 1, notice that you are tutti here at letter L and mezzo piano only, though you are in the lower range of the trumpet, so make sure that we have some clarity there. You are doubling the first flute, first oboe, and first clarinet right there. So be listening for those parts. They are all in higher octaves than you are. So you are the lower octave. Thus, it is important that you are very clearly in tune. Notice also there's no crescendo leading into letter M. That is an orchestrated crescendo, meaning that we have more instruments playing in the measure before M, so we're adding more instruments to the ensemble sound right before letter M, meaning that we're simply producing a greater volume of sound, a greater density of sound from the ensemble as we approach letter M. So it's not necessary for us to insert a crescendo right there. Next, let's look at letter M. First trumpet, you have a fanfare type figure that you need to bring out above the ensemble. While this is not a melody, it's important that this figure more or less soars over top of the ensemble. It's what we might call the icing on the cake. And make sure you do practice with a metronome. Although these are 30-second notes, they are not as fast as you want to make them. Second and third trumpet, you do have melody and harmony here, so pay attention to that. Let's listen to just the 3 trumpet parts here at letter M. Make sure to decrescendo at letter N, as the synthesizer does not do that very well. Letter N is a gorgeous horn chorale, which restates the theme that we heard at letter L. Letter O again restates the theme that we hear at letter L. I discussed this theme in, again, score study number 4. Letter P is that same theme, but again transposed. Trumpet 1 and trumpet 2, you have the fanfare, first in unison and then moving to octaves. Second trumpet, it's especially important that you're in tune there. And first trumpet, it's important that you're listening down to the second trumpet part in the recording to make sure that you are in tune. I'm going to take this opportunity to remind you that when you record your video, you should tune your instrument before you begin recording. This is very important, as if your instrument is not in tune, it will not be in tune with the rest of the ensemble, and it will be very difficult to make your audio sound good within the final project. Third trumpet, you have harmony, again, at letter P. Pay special attention to these tied notes, especially the ones that tie over bar lines. These are suspensions and releases that we're making purposeful dissonances that resolve to consonances to make those consonances even more beautiful. Notice this fanfare that you have marked fortissimo here, 4 bars, before letter Q. Second and third trumpet, you're in unison. First trumpet, you're an octave above. Make sure you're listening down and tuning appropriately. Then notice this figure, which is simply F sharp to F natural. However, observe the dynamics very closely in your individual parts. First trumpet, half note, mezzo forte crescendo to sforzando, and crescendo all the way down through the bar before Q, landing at piano pianissimo. Second trumpet, mezzo forte to forte by beat 2, and then cut off. Third trumpet, mezzo forte up to sforzando, just like trumpet 1. However, you're decrescendoing to pianissimo by beat 1 of the bar before Q. This provides an orchestrated effect that I'm not going to play for you right now because the synthesizer does a really terrible job of it. However, it is very important that these dynamics are observed very carefully. Letter Q is the euphonium solo again. Top DVC players play the one-player only parts. Letter R is a flute solo, which introduces the theme that is orchestrated throughout the full band at letter S. First and second trumpet, you have melody and harmony. Third trumpet, you have offbeats, which you are trading with the first bassoon and the first and second trombones. Let's look at that very quickly. Here's the spot. Right here where my mouse is the third trumpet line. If we scroll down a little further, we can see trombone 1 and trombone 2 have downbeats. You have every upbeat. So you're trading downbeats and upbeats, kind of like the tubas and the horns would do in a Sousa march, except it's not that style here. These are all legato. But you're creating kind of a motor type motion there. Again, that is divisi. Third trumpet, we accidentally got an extra forte printed there. That is not fortissimo, it's just forte. It just printed badly. First trumpet, you are doubling the oboes and the first bassoon here at the a tempo. So listen up for the oboes and down for the bassoons. You're actually playing in the same octave as the second oboe. Let's scroll up so you can see that. Up here at the top is first oboe, then second oboe, and then bassoon. Here's first trumpet, as you can see right here on beat 2 in the bar after the a tempo. You are doubling the second oboe in the same octave. Obviously, you're in B flat and the oboe is in C, so they look a little bit different. However, they are in the same octave. Second and third trumpet, again, you're doing the offbeat things. And then letter T, decrescendo down to piano, and then rest for the rest of it. That's the end of the analysis for part 1. If you're planning to watch this video in 2 parts, you can go ahead, pause here, and resume when you're ready to go on. Otherwise, we're going to continue to part 2. I'm going to take this moment to say that I'm not going to play a whole lot of the full score or the audio for the full score in these individual part analyses. That is primarily to save time, as these videos would likely be closer to 30 to 45 minutes, or likely closer to 45 minutes, as they're already rather close to 30 minutes. If you are interested in looking at the full score or a score and relating that to your part, there is a condensed score video up on the YouTube channel, and it's particularly useful for comparing your part to the overall ensemble, as it has specific notations that tell you which instruments you're playing that line with, or if that line is specific to your instrument only. And talking about things that only your instrument has, we're going to begin with this opening line from part 2. This line is only in the trumpets. The horns do join you in the last bar before letter A. However, this is a fanfare, although it's not maybe your typical fanfare type rhythm. It is marked fortissimo. First trumpet, you're going up high. Make sure you're in tune. Make sure these are quarter notes. There will be a tendency to rush because the woodwinds have a bunch of runs underneath this, but make sure you're projecting over the ensemble. You're using a good round tone, and it's just very marcato, aggressive, but also in tune. Letter A, make sure we're counting right here. You're moving from a quarter note subdivision to a eighth note triplet subdivision. So make sure you're subdividing triplets in the beat before, or even better, 2 beats before at the beginning of the measure here. Make sure you're holding out this note for its full value in the 5/4 bar. Letter B is the beginning of a chorale that is the principal theme of the third movement. I discussed this at length again in score study video number 4. If you're interested in that, go check that video out. Letter C is a recap of the theme that happens at letter B, except it is transposed up a half step. So instead of E minor, it is in F minor for you. Concert D minor to E flat minor if you're interested there. This is a chorale, so chorale style playing, nice legato playing, good tone, all of those general reminders. Same thing with this ascending figure, bar before D. First trumpets, I believe there are only 2 of you, so you can ignore this 2 players straight mute. It's just all of you with the straight mute because there are only 2 of you. Make sure to diminuendo to a true pianissimo. Again, as the consideration is with mutes, try to play about a dynamic, half a dynamic louder than is marked on the part, as the mute obviously makes you a little bit quieter. First trumpets, this is open and tutti, although the tutti doesn't really matter since there are only 2 of you there in the first place. Second trumpet is divisi, although it's not written there. It is assumed since there are 2 parts, and I don't think you can play both of these parts on one trumpet. If you can, please don't, however. This is a fanfare that's just split up between second trumpet and then first and third. So again, marcato, good tone, all of those reminders as before. Letter F is the chorale theme we hear at letters B, C, and D. So make sure we're playing in that same style. You've only got this one figure here in the 6/4 bar. And then make sure you're counting your rest appropriately. Generally, the pattern goes 3/4, 4/4, 6/4. However, you do have this 5/4, 4/4, 3/4 to break it up at the end. In the bar before G at the fermata, you'll hear a piccolo solo. Let's move to that spot in the full score. Here's the bar before G and the piccolo solo. So what you'll see in the conductor video is you'll see me hold the fermata. There will be a timpani hit at letter G on the downbeat of the 2/4 bar. And then I will cue in the first beat of the 4/4 bar that follows. And you'll also hear that in the click track that accompanies the conductor video. That isn't so much of a concern to you as perhaps the piccolo player. However, it is important to know when you need to start counting these 8 bars of rest, because if you come in the wrong place, you'll likely have to start retaking your video from the beginning of part 2, which would be a shame. First and second trumpet, make sure that you're observing these dynamics, like the ones from earlier, very carefully. Mezzo forte goes up to a sforzando. These are, again, F sharp to F natural, and then down to mezzo piano, and then back up to fortissimo by beat 5. This is a direct recap, actually a copy and paste of the beginning of part 2, so I'm going to skip through it because all the same considerations apply. Letter J, if you watch the conductor video, I will again hold and release the fermata. And I will also conduct the poco retard and the fermata before letter K. This phrase, shortly before letter M, again, please observe your dynamics closely. Mezzo forte to forte, and then forte piano crescendoing up to fortissimo. First trumpet, make sure this top A is just kind of soaring and holding above the ensemble. You're one of the few parts that actually holds through that bar line in the key change. So make sure that while you're crescendoing through that bar line, you're also kind of soaring over the ensemble a little bit. And then you join back with the rest of the trumpet section in the second bar of M. You're not soaring over the ensemble anymore there. Same deal here, section playing. in this bar number 121. And then a group fanfare here, right before letter N. Second trumpet, note that you change notes at letter N. First and third, you do not. You are mostly in octaves or unison. Letter O is a gorgeous horn chorale. And then you'll hear polka retard, and then a bass drone from the tubas and euphoniums, 2 bars before P. Notice this one only notation. Top DVC players play at the one only, then lower DVC players jump in at the add one. The add one applies to beat 4 here, beat 4 of the 4th bar of P, which is 150. I think I tried to specify that in your part assignment emails. However, I want to reiterate it here. That means you will begin playing on beat 4 here, not the downbeat following. And then, of course, ignore the remaining add ones. I don't think there are any parts which are 3 players to a part. If there are, in either first or second trumpet, the third player adds at that following add 1 marking. And then this last add 1 and tutti marking are to be ignored. At letter Q, first trumpet, notice you are only marked forte, even though you are significantly higher than the other 2 trumpet parts, and you have more notes. This is because second and third trumpet have melody and harmony, which is more important than the little fanfare. First trumpet, you're already going to be decently loud and above the ensemble because of your range. You're in the high range of your instrument already. Notice that I've remarked a forte here in the 3rd bar of Q. That's a character change for you, first trumpet. You're going from fanfare to melody here. So make sure you differentiate the 2 styles from fanfare playing to chorale playing, even though it's a loud and celebratory chorale. At letter R, this is a fanfare that you have doubled with the trombones, so listen down to them. And again, loud, marcato, very proud, very brave. Just really go for it, but don't try to overwhelm the ensemble by any means. This is just kind of an icing on the cake. There is melody in the woodwinds going on top of this, so make sure you're not covering that up. Third trumpet, I don't have it marked here, but give these triplets some direction. Maybe a little bit of a crescendo, but not too much because you're already playing fairly loud. Again, these fanfare type figures, whenever you see them, just really go for it. And brave, loud, marcato, but not to the point of being overwhelming or obnoxious. Again, bringing the motif here out, the fanfare motif right here. This is the same fanfare we saw at the end of the second movement in part 1, or in the middle of the second movement in part 1 towards the end. You just really bring these out. Make sure it's marcato going over the ensemble, and then making sure you still have room to crescendo up to the end. So don't play these accented figures so loud that you block yourself off from getting louder towards the end, because we still want to hear the crescendo. Now note that this last note has a legato marking on it, which is different from, say, the stinger on the end of a Sousa march. So make sure that you're holding that note out for its full duration. And that's the end of the analysis for part 2 of the trumpet parts for the symphony. I hope this video has been informational and helpful as you prepare your parts for recording for the 4 Minutes for Midnight virtual band project. If you enjoyed this video, thank you for watching. If you have questions or comments about this analysis, you can email us at 4minutesvirtual@gmail.com. If you have other spots in your part or in the piece that you'd like to see us cover in a future score study video, you can also email us at 4minutesvirtual@gmail.com. And thanks for watching.